Seaplanes bring a new level of fun and utility to the world of aviation, but the unique ability to go where other airplanes can't brings with it added responsibilities. Most non-pilots have some idea of what to expect an airplane to do at an airport. They know to avoid or exercise extreme caution within areas like runways and taxiways. Mix aircraft and boaters on the same body of water, however, where operating areas are not so well defined and conflict becomes a possibility. Safety and courtesy are shared responsibilities among all waterway users, so boaters and seaplane pilots should be aware of each other's capabilities and operating requirements. We'd like to take a few minutes to go over some of the operations of seaplane flying. Our intention is not to train or initiate new seaplane pilots, rather to address the unique nature of water flying. It's our hope that the more seaplane pilots know about boating and the more boaters know about seaplane operations, the safer the waterways will be for all of us. At the end of this video is a bibliography of helpful publications and sources for learning more. In the meantime, kick off your sneakers, roll up your pants legs, and let's get our feet wet.
Seaplanes come in a variety of configurations. There's straight floats, amphibious, hull type, single and multi-engine, heavy and ultralights. Weather and water surface conditions have a great significance to the seaplane pilot and affect how and where seaplanes operate. Wind doesn't have to be very strong to kick up some nasty waves on either big or shallow waters. Operations near shipping lanes or around lots of boat traffic can create boat wake hazards that can rattle the teeth of the seaplane pilot, or worse, flip a plane. Both boaters and seaplane pilots should be extra cautious and considerate when operating in close proximity to each other. A seaplane, like a sailboat or a weather vane, will weathercock into the wind if left to its own devices. Very few seaplanes have reversing props, which means no brakes. So docking and maneuvering in tight quarters requires some knowledge of sailing. On the water, the seaplane pilot must consider current as well as wind direction and wind strength. Though sailing is done with the engine off, it's normal for a seaplane to occasionally restart to adjust for the plane's drift. An aware boater will give a taxiing or sailing seaplane a little extra room, particularly when the wind is blowing or the current is running. And it's a good idea to think that a seaplane engine could start at any time without warning. There's always the potential of an accident involving helpful passengers or dock hands too close to a spinning propeller. Most seaplane taxi operations are performed at idle. This protects the prop from the significant damage water droplets can cause, prevents overheating, and offers the pilot a better course view. Longer runs in the clear are often done on the step. In some turning situations, a plow taxi is required, which severely limits the forward visibility of the pilot in most seaplanes. Also, going from idle to step taxi or back down again puts the plane in that nose-high attitude. Boaters need to learn to give a seaplane even more room when it's transitioning through these phases of marginal forward visibility. Pilots need to clear the area with a careful scan for surrounding or approaching boat traffic before commencing the takeoff sequence, while visibility is unrestricted and the potential conflicts can easily be seen. Passengers in the plane can play a vital role as another set of eyes, particularly when the pilot is busy with his flying tasks. A really cool part of seaplane flying is that seaplanes almost always take off and land into the wind. What boaters should realize is that wind direction is the major factor for a seaplane pilot to determine his takeoff or landing path. In an area with a high mix of boats and planes, like Lake Union in Seattle, many boaters have learned to read the wind to anticipate operation patterns for the local seaplanes. In most situations, however, boaters are not expecting an aircraft to swoop out of the sky, so pilots should always assume that the boater does not see the plane even when operating in an established seaplane base. Pilots should pay particular attention to operators of personal watercraft. Their attention is almost always very concentrated on their own endeavors, and abrupt course changes are the norm for their operations. The personal watercraft hot dogs have a well-deserved reputation for reckless operation, so when seaplanes and personal watercraft are sharing the same waterways, watch out. Landing, particularly in an unfamiliar area, requires a close inspection for boat traffic and other obstacles. So sometimes a seaplane will make a low pass, power up, and circle for a landing. Pilots need to be aware that this may arouse the curiosity of nearby boaters who might come around for a closer look.
You should go through the checklist. The checklist between a land plane and a seaplane are quite similar, but there are some major differences you should consider.
Of concern to all of us is that the traffic and conditions in the landing area have probably changed since the plane's low pass a minute or so earlier. In an area of high boat traffic, and particularly in the proximity of personal watercraft operations, seaplane pilots are constantly reacting to quickly changing traffic flows.
First thing that I think is really important, obviously, is for the owner of the seaplane business to talk with the business owners of the personal watercraft. And as long as they communicate, that's the first step. This is like an airport out here, and they need to be on the lookout all the time. The thing that we have to have primarily is safety. It's a big issue for us, and it also should be for the owners of the personal watercraft. What they don't realize is that we need to get out and get in position so that we can take off, and a lot of times they're in the way. And they also need to watch out when the engines start to rev up. That means we are taking off, and that's the last time you want to be in the way because it's a very critical time for us. Also, in an area where there's going to be a seaplane landing, they need to be aware that they're going to have to look up and look around. And to us here at the base, it seems so obvious. We even had a situation, we had a plane coming in, and he was ready to land, and he had to go back up again and circle around and try one more time because the people on the personal watercraft were just sitting and watching, and they weren't getting out of the way. You know, and it's important for them to realize they can't. It's not up to them to judge where we're going to land and where we're going to take off. They can't tell, so they just need to stay as far away as possible.
Because we have no contact with the craft in the water, we have to maintain our utmost vigilance ourselves just by basically just looking around and keeping an eye on the jet skis and all the odd boat that may anchor off in the channel out here and dive with a dive flag or no dive flag, or maybe an odd fishing boat fishing in the channel, and also the boats going in and out of the marina.
According to the Seaplane Pilots Association, in a 13-year study of NTSB records through 1995, there were only 3 aircraft accidents involving boats, as opposed to over 30,000 boat-to-boat accidents. You heard right, 3 versus 30,000. That comparison is pretty impressive for the seaplane pilots, but we shouldn't rest until the number is 0. Once the seaplane lands, it becomes a boat and has a whole new set of rules to abide by, and they're found in Section 91.115 of the Federal Aviation Regulations. These regulations mirror nautical rules of the road for the most part and are pretty simple, like passing opposing traffic port to port. The crossing vessel on the right has the right-of-way. The less maneuverable vessel has the right-of-way, and the vessel being overtaken has the right-of-way.
Regulations specific to seaplane operations, as with most of general aviation, reflect good judgment and common sense. Throw in the pilot's natural concern for safety and a generally heightened sense of situational awareness, coupled with the aviation community's self-preserving code of conduct and consideration, and we've got a win-win situation. Seaplanes mixing comfortably and safely with other waterway users.